do good work.
Yeah.
You should be having your business as like, money's great and that'll be the end goal, but if you really have a passion about providing a good service, the money will come. Yeah. And your reputation is everything in this industry, and if you're doing good work, it shows. Contracting officers will talk about it.
So, entrepreneur, daughter, friend, educator, business consultant. I mean, the list absolutely goes on and on and on. One of the biggest things that I was happy to know about Taelor was the fact that she secured $4 million in government awarded contracts. So can we give a round of applause to $4 million in government awarded contracts? Because at the end of the day, you know, having somebody like Taelor Salmon here is a blessing to everybody in this room. Because at the end of the day, we want to do business things ourselves. We want to be successful ourselves. We want to be able to do these things for ourselves, for our family, for our friends. We want to create generational wealth, and we want to enact generational wealth principles. And I think that there's no better person than Taelor to actually give that information to us. So everybody, round of applause one more time, Taelor Salmon.
Thank you.
So now time to toot your own horn. So Taelor, number one, thank you for showing up on a podcast. We greatly appreciate your time, as time is something that we cannot get back. So I'm glad that you're giving yours to us. So where are you from originally?
I'm born in D.C., raised in Fort Washington, Maryland.
Okay. And where did you go to school, and what degree did you obtain when you went to that school?
I went to William & Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, and studied economics.
Economics, nice. Mm-hmm. So what is the name of your company, the company that we have in question today? The
company's name is TJS Group.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm going to say this multiple times, so please make sure to have your phones out. Actually, I want everybody to pull your phones out right now. If you have Instagram, I want you to follow Taelor right now to make sure that you stay current with everything that she's doing. So, Taelor, how can we find you? What is your IG? Throw it out. My
Instagram is my first and last name, so Taelor. It's Taelor with an E, so TAELOR.Salmon, SALMON.
All right, can you do that one more time for the crowd, please, just in case anybody missed it?
Yes, TAELOR.SALMON.
All right, cool. Did everybody get that? Did everybody hit that follow button for those of you who have Instagrams? All right, awesome. I know some people are fasting from social media. I would be too if I didn't just use it for my business exclusively. So, Taelor, how long have you been in federal government contracting overall?
So I've been in the contracting industry for about 9 years now. It'll be 9 years in September.
Okay, yeah. And congratulations. 9 years is a pretty decent amount of time to do anything. So congratulations on that. As we know, most small businesses fail within the first 3 years. So to multiply that by 300% is definitely a feat that should be celebrated. And talk to me a little bit about how you got started in the federal government contracting space. I mean, I believe a relative put you on, correct? Can you give us a little bit of information about that?
Yes. So my father started a federal contracting firm around 2014 when I was graduating college. And so I'm Jamaican, so our goal is really we do everything for the next generation. You set your family up for success. So as soon as I graduated from college, I started working with my father's federal contracting firm, learned the ropes, and the goal was to eventually start my own. Any more?
No, I mean, you can keep going.
Yeah.
We love to hear it.
So started with them, learned federal contracting because, guys, it really is a plethora of information, and I'm excited that you guys are here, but it's so much to learn, but it can be so lucrative. It really can. And the best step to build your business is to start educating yourself, putting yourself out there, and really have an idea of what it is that you want your small business to do. And then also understanding what the federal government needs, right? So you want to be able to position your small business as a company that resolves. If you're familiar with the federal government, you know that they move very slow And a lot of the most intellectual people are going to be outsourced to these small businesses, especially your IT contracts where it's super, security. It's a lot of like high level information. They outsource a lot of that work to small businesses. So knowing what agencies need and kind of tailoring your business to fit those needs is also a good way to get your foot in the door.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I mean, at the end of the day, Taelor is really speaking to business principles in general, right? They always say, if you want to start a business, you need to find out what people want to buy and what people need to buy, right? So if you think about what people need to have, then that's going to be a good start by starting to think about what you cannot not have in your life every day, right? We kind of got to think outside the box a little bit to make sure that we can make these dreams come true. So I specifically said federal government contracting earlier because there are two different types of government contracting, correct?
Correct.
All right. So there's both federal contracting and then there's also state contracting.
Exactly.
So can you give us some examples of the differences between the two contracts? One from federal, one from state, and then how they may differ if you dabbled in that.
Sure. So federal and state are essentially what they mean. So state is going to be local. Anything that's procured within the city of Washington, D.C., if you're in Alabama, it's going to be procured through, the city of Alabama. Or was it Georgia?
Yeah, something like that.
Georgia.
Well, Georgia, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. And then federally, if it's federal, it's going to be procured for the entire nation.
Yeah.
So federally, it could be more pool of money to work with, but it can be just as lucrative depending on the type of work you do state as well.
Absolutely. And are you completely exclusive with federal government contracting, or do you double dip, so to speak? Do you ever double dip?
I don't double dip.
Okay.
I stick with federal.
Okay.
But nothing against state. I just haven't procured that yet. I haven't pursued that opportunity. Okay,
awesome. By a show of hands, raise your hand if you guys knew that there was two different types of government contracting. Awesome. So people been on YouTube definitely doing their research. I love it. You guys came prepared. So we talked earlier about how somebody would be able to get started. So for somebody in the audience, actually for everybody in the audience, can you give us a few ways that they can start their government contracting business? Just if they said, you know what, I'm starting from ground zero, give us a few ways that you can actually start that government contracting business.
Yeah, so you really want to know your why. Like, what is it that you're doing and why you're doing it? If you're in landscaping, then that is the core niche of your business, right? And then if you want to get started selling yourself to the government, you have got to start promoting yourself to different federal agencies. And you do this by creating a capability statement. So I don't care if you're brand new or you've been in business for 30 years, you need to have a capability statement, which is essentially a one-pager that explains what your small business does at a high level, your services, who you've worked with, federally who you've worked with, and even commercial who you've worked with, and then why should the federal government work with you. So that should all essentially be in your one-pager capability statement, and you're going to be using this statement, this capability one-pager, and submitting it to different federal agencies, different small business specialists, different contracting specialists, anybody that's going to need to procure your business, you want to have this capability statement ready.
Okay, awesome. And then when we were developing these questions, there were really like 5 key points, or 5 finest points, right? 5 finest points that you wanted everybody to know about. One was your why, which you just discussed. And then we talked about products. We talked about sam.gov, we talked about marketing, and we also talked about organization. So can you speak a little bit about each one of those sections? I'll give you the card just in case you... Yeah, I'll give you the card right there. So can you talk to our audience a little bit about why each one of those things are important in creating a successful government contracting business? Okay,
so if we're starting out with why, I think every business owner, you need a why. Why are you doing this? Some of it's, we got families, we have mouths to feed, we got to make a dollar, right?
Make a dollar.
But you want to tailor this why so that it's a value add to whoever's receiving it, right? Because we're all great, but like if we can't use a service, then what's it going to do me if it's no good? So know your why, but present it as a value add why. And then if you are, what's your service, right? If it's landscaping or you're selling pencils.
Yeah.
Why are your pencils different? What is the better value that the government or the recipient is going to have from buying your pencils than, the other company's pencils? So understanding that should be in the back of your head, knowing your company, knowing your why and your mission. And then you really want to get familiar with procurement platforms. So your procurement platforms are really how you're going to be searching for federal opportunities. So you're going to be looking at sam.gov, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with, sam.gov. This is a list of opportunities that are solicited, currently or, 12 months out for the federal government that you should be building a pipeline of in-house. You also want to look at places like govwin.com. If you're on the GSA schedule, you want to look at the GSA schedule. All of these platforms are how the federal government decides to do business with these small businesses. Places like the GSA schedule, the government, sometimes GSA only procures using the GSA schedule because people that have been admitted to the GSA schedule have a level of legitimacy, and they have gone through all of the loopholes and the steps so that the GSA is like, yes, this is a great company. They have past performance in certain areas. They're good enough for us to work with them. So that is what I call a vehicle. It's called the GSA schedule. You can use Seaport that the U.S. Navy uses, but there's so many vehicles to use. But if you're just starting out, I would recommend sam.gov. It's very easy to use, but there's tons of opportunities on there every day. And then you want to get into your marketing. That's soliciting your business, showing people what you do, why you do it, and you want to solicit your business to people that are buying it. And so you want to research federal agencies and their needs. Like, let's start with the National Archives. So they're one of our biggest clients. It was one of my first multi-million-dollar awards that we got in October of 22.
Shout out to multi-million-dollar money. I love that.
It's a facilities maintenance contract. So we're doing everything from constructing roofs to repairing asphalt to, building a physical EPAC system, which is a physical security system. It was a massive IDIQ. But I had solicited my company or, marketed my company to the National Archives, I want to say like a year in advance.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're TJS Group. We provide X, Y, and Z services. We love to work with this agency. And 90% of the time, we got ignored. But in repetition, there will become success.
Yes.
And you cannot just stop at the first person that ignores you or ignores your email because you wouldn't be successful. So we started marketing ourselves to these agencies through email marketing and through industry days, through setting up capability meetings with small business specialists, with contracting officers. You really want to get in front of these people to present your company. And then eventually we got a direct award for this contract, literally just based off of a relationship that we had. So it was non-compete. And then you want to make sure your company's organized. When you're first starting out, you're going to be doing everything yourself. That's sometimes what it's like just being a small business owner, but eventually you want to have like your right hand who's going to help you develop the business and have business development experience. You want to have someone that knows how to create a pipeline and capture opportunities. And then you want to have someone that's good at finance and understands how to analyze your contracts to see how much money each contract is making so that you can make the right decision on what to pursue. Like if you're not making any money on, a contract with the Navy and your CFO is like, we're losing money here, you got to end that contract or start pursuing elsewhere where you're making more money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world.
That was long-winded, sorry.
No, you're good. We love it when you elaborate. That's you dropped a lot of gems. You talked about industry days as well. We talked about that previously. Can you explain to the audience what industry days actually are and what the purpose of an industry day is and why it's so important for you as a business owner to attend something like that?
Yes, industry days are huge if you want to get in front of federal agencies, specifically the people that are buying at these federal agencies. So every agency has industry days a couple times a year. You can find them on sam.gov, you can Google them, but you have an opportunity to present your company to small business specialists, to contracting officers, to contract specialists, and explain face-to-face who you are and what you do. And got 90% of this business I have found is relationships.
Yeah,
so if
absolutely.
It really is, especially being in DC. And so if you're going to these industry days, you just want to meet as many people, hand out your card, explain your company, and make those relationships as best as you can and repeat over and over again.
Yes, awesome. So repetition is the secret sauce, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did Aaliyah say? If you don't succeed, try again.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Aaliyah said that.
Oh yeah, brush yourself off and
try again. Wow. I think that came out when I was in elementary school. I don't want to date myself. Anyway, so you spoke about a capability statement. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What is the TJS capability statement?
TJS Group is an 8A economically disadvantaged women-owned small business providing multidisciplinary services to federal agencies like the Department of Defense, the National Archives, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, which is DOD. But our main niche is facilities maintenance and IT security.
Is that it?
That's our main niche, but we also provide multifunctional device maintenance. We provide engineering support. We provide acquisition support, everything from cradle to grave acquisition, so everything from soliciting RFPs all the way to contract closeout, which is a specific niche of work that our employees do at the U.S. Air Force. Yeah, so it's a handful of
Can
stuff
everybody
we do.
give her a round of applause for knocking that out of the park? Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? And this is why Taelor has achieved what she has achieved so far and will achieve more in the future. I know it. It's because she's ready at all times, right? So if you have a capability statement, you should know that like you know your birthday, right? Like you know your social security number. You should know these things because you never know when you're going to be in an elevator and you're going to talk to somebody and they're going to say, hey, what do you guys do? Literally, capability statement, right on pause. So my next question. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing. So how did you go about marketing yourself to be attractive enough to lock in your contracts with the government overall? Like, how did you go about doing that?
Like I said earlier, it's knowing what the agencies want. So every time we pay taxes, we pay taxes every day, right? The government has to funnel our dollars back into the economy, and they do that through investing in small businesses. Every agency has a specific percentage that they have to allocate dollars toward. They have to allocate a certain amount of money towards veteran-owned small businesses. They've got to allocate a certain amount of money to service-disabled small businesses. They've got to allocate dollars to women-owned, HubZone. The list goes on and on and on. They have to allocate these dollars to these businesses. So when I market my company, in a sense, it's like you kind of need me, right? There's a bunch of other businesses like myself, but you need 8A companies. They need women-owned companies. They have to meet these socioeconomic goals every year. And if they don't, it looks bad. So I always say that I'm an 8A, economically disadvantaged, women-owned company. Or I'm HubZone because they have to meet those quotas every year.
Yeah, that makes sense. So so in your capability statement, you're basically telling companies, it is very safe to hire me because I already meet multiple requirements that you need to already meet anyway.
Right, and if we already meet the basic, 8A women-owned, but we also provide great work.
Yeah.
We've got great CPARs, we've got great employees, we've got great employee retention, and so making sure you understand that about your company, but also get your certifications. They help you in the long run, and they're super important.
Okay, you mentioned certifications before we get to the next question. What certifications would be important for somebody who has their own business, they want to go after government contracts? Can you give us a couple certifications that you personally attained and then other certifications that would be really good to get to make yourself more attractive and marketable? Absolutely.
So women-owned, of course, for the women in here, if you're able to get an economically disadvantaged women-owned small business certification, they used to allow you to self-certify, but now there's a more solidified process to do it. But women-owned, HubZone, if you live in a HubZone, you are allowed, to get direct awards based on a HubZone certification. A HubZone
what's a HubZone? Yeah, I was about to ask.
It's when your company is a historically underutilized business zone. So if your office or your place of business or the most time you spend your work hours at is in a HubZone, and 33% of your employees live in a HubZone, your company is HubZone certified.
Awesome.
It's easier to get when you're first starting out because 33% of your company could be you if it's just you. But if you have 20 employees, it's harder to get. So that is one I recommend trying to get first if you live in a HubZone. And then my favorite is the 8A certification. That is how we scaled. We did a lot of business and are doing a lot of business. This is the 8A certification. Because your company can win up to $4 million in direct awards. So you're not competing with any other company for a $4 million award based on having an 8A certification. So that's another one of my favorite certifications that is extremely lucrative if you play your cards right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So switching gears, let's talk about why government contracting is so important overall. And also, let's talk about your strategy that allows you to win an award up to $4 million. I think you already hit it, but we'll just kind of run by it again. What was your strategy across the board that allows you to win an award up to $4 million in government contract value?
The strategy was to market what we did, right? So in the beginning, you're not going to have a lot of work, or you might. So we went after low-hanging fruit. Like, we would go after those small printer maintenance contracts. I don't know anything about printers. I really don't. But I knew that the government needed someone to maintain these printers. Yeah. And that was like my first award, was maybe like a $60,000 printer contract with the Department of Commerce in like 2017. But I would just outsource the work to a company called JTF, who is local in Virginia.
Nice.
So like those are low hanging fruit. You can do it like that. And then, what was the question? Sorry.
Strategy.
So yes. So you can do low-hanging fruit, or strategy. I would also just go the certification route. So the goal with my company, was to always get the 8A certification. That's how my father grew his business and graduated, and that was the plan for my company. But you can't get your 8A certification until you have at least 2 years of revenue under your belt as a business, under your specific NAICS code. I don't know if I spoke about NAICS codes, but NAICS codes are essentially codes that identify what your company provides. So our main NAICS code is 541611, which is your administrative general management services. We also do a little bit of construction, which is under 236220. Yeah. So under that goes along with the product side of things. So knowing what services your company provides, and then keying that to which NAICS code you want to work with or you want to use as your main NAICS code.
Okay. Can you spell NAICS? Obviously, acronym. But can you spell NAICS for anybody here that's taking notes, right? Because you're going to write it down and you're going to be like, I don't know how to spell NAICS.
Yeah, my bad.
Can you run that down for me real quick?
It's NAICS.
Yeah. So for anybody who's taking notes, which I'm pretty sure is a lot of you, NICS, right?
NAICS.
NAICS. No disrespect. NAICS, right? That's definitely something that's Googleable. So we're going to pause for a second, make sure people can grab some food, grab some drinks, hit the bathroom, and we will be back in 15 minutes or less. Thank you. Hope you guys are having a great time.
Holla.
Talking. I know. Talk it up. Talk it up. We appreciate it. We appreciate your expertise. So I have a question for you, and this is not one from the audience. So what do you believe is the most important thing to master in building and operating a small business with the federal government? Good one, right?
That is a good question. So if you're just getting started, I will speak from personal experience. My thing was being responsive and being available. Because you have these multi-billion-dollar businesses who have a lot of overhead, they have a lot of employees, but sometimes they're not as responsive, and sometimes it's difficult to get the decision maker on the phone. When I first started, I led with that. I was like, I'm responsive, I will answer your emails, I'll even be more proactive about presenting resolutions. So that was my kind of thing, just being responsive. The other thing, if you're, have a couple of contracts or work under your belt, is to do good work.
Yeah.
You should be having your business as like, money's great and that'll be the end goal, but if you really have a passion about providing a good service, the money will come. Yeah. And your reputation is everything in this industry, and if you're doing good work, it shows. Contracting officers will talk about it, but there's also a thing called CPARs, which are your contractor performance, like, I forget what it stands for, CPARS.
Yes.
But it essentially, every federal agency can go in the CPAR system and see what a contracting officer has rated your company as. Was it excellent? And there are all areas that they're going to rate you as, like your communication, your organization, your employee retention. They're going to give you a rating. So it's important to do good work so that you can have good CPARs and that agencies can know that, okay, this company is trusting, they do good work, GSA loves them, I'm going to give them a chance on their proposal. Let's see what they can do.
Awesome answer. Yeah, what's the CPAR, Taylor? Just
It's
one
like
more
a
time.
contractor performance rating.
That's
you.
my mama, y'all.
That's my mother.
Everybody, a round of applause for her mama, y'all.
She's a great speaker, guys. She really is.
Great
As she
speaker.
leaves.
We're
Goodbye. Bye, Mom.
She's going to be on one of these podcast episodes. She said no, but she don't know. She just said yes. So,
Okay. Yeah,
Go ahead,
so
Taylor.
CPAR is contractor performance rating. You can Google it, but it's basically how the federal government will look into you as a company and look into your business and see what other federal agencies has rated your service, your company as. Which is why I said doing good work is so important. Having good employees are so important. Hiring talent, I've learned, has become one of the hardest things in running a company.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is. You know, I get it. People don't want to work. I get it. Work is hard, but you know, Gen Z has kind of taught me that too. trying to hire. But yeah, who you hire, who you have in your company represents you, all the way from you down to your part-time employees. So doing good work is super important because people talk and it shows, specifically in CPARs. So yeah.
Yeah, so CPAR is basically an evaluation system.
Exactly.
Like a post-evaluation system.
You said yeah.
I think one of the great things that you discussed was a conversation I had with a fellow business owner a couple months ago, mastering the follow-up, right? So as a recruiter for the military, and I do cap rates and stuff like that for my real estate fix and flip company, the follow-up is very important, right? So if you are a business owner of any kind, and somebody says, hey, yeah, let me get back with you next week or whatever, get back with them. Right? Because that might be the difference between them working with you and not working with you. So it's really not anything different from, saying, hey, let's have a follow-up call on Thursday at 3 o'clock, right? Rachel Ellis, CPA, she got the chicken in her hand. She's going to be on one of our next UPC events. And I literally had a conversation with her earlier today. And that conversation basically started up with her mastering the follow-up from a conversation we had earlier when I said, hey, let's have a conversation at this time, and she called me, right? So at the end of the day, when you're doing business, you have to make sure that you're mastering the follow-up because that's the only way that people are actually going to know that you're serious. Everything that we're doing here is great. All the information that Taylor is giving you is great. I hope you're taking plenty of notes. I got a lot of note cards as well. But make sure that you master the follow-up. That is a skill that a lot of us have not been taught, right? So we have to kind of teach ourselves. Does that make sense? All right.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. I'm not Keith. You don't have to serve me.
Yes, sir.
So I've gathered from this conversation that we have, that we've been having, is differentiate yourself from other companies, right? Strategize, create a pipeline of opportunity, and do the work. Mm-hmm. Is that all? That's the gist, but it goes. There's such a moral part of it too. Like I always say, the why, because if you're passionate about it, your why is going to show. Because you're genuinely going to care, and it's going to show when you are meeting these contracting officers face to face. Because you're going to be passionate when you're talking about what your company does, and you're actually going to care. And sometimes, just being a very black and white person, like we do X, Y, and Z, versus like, we do this, we're passionate, like we care about the community, and we really want to add value to this agency. Like how you sell it also helps. So having your why is super important because it also shows a level of vulnerability. And a lot of people can have the opportunity to relate to you as a business owner when you show a little bit of vulnerability. Yeah. And that could be that little factor that's like, damn, I really like this company. I want to get to know them more. Yeah. So that's also important too. Yeah, vulnerability and transparency as well. Yes, transparency. Definitely transparency as well. Vulnerability and transparency. So this is not the last question, but is the last question for you from UPC. And then I'll dive into these other questions to make sure we satisfy the audience. Last question, are you ready? Yeah, let's go. How important is mentorship in this process overall? And can you give us a mentorship story as well? Mentorship is imperative. It's imperative in government contracting. It's imperative in any business you have. I think we all have idols or people we look up to.
if you see how successful they are, I would recommend, educating yourself, meeting them, figuring out what they did and mimicking it. Like, we sometimes go into these industries so blindly, and there's so many questions we have. But sometimes if you narrow your vision down and it's like, I like what that company did, it makes sense, we have similarities, how did you do it? Or it could just be a mentor who's been in the industry. Mentorship is so important in life and in federal contracting. But more importantly, and this might segue to the next topic, is having partnering on opportunities. Yeah. So that is also personally imperative when you're getting your first contract, because if you're going and applying and putting out these proposals and you've done none of the work before, the government's going to be like, okay, this is great. I love that you're women-owned. I love that you're hub-zoned, but it's kind of hard for them to allocate thousands of dollars to you when there's little to back it up. Yeah. So having a partner, like a prime contractor, and you being the sub, allows you to have a foot into that agency, maybe not as a prime, but you can be a subcontractor and still get that past performance, and you use that past performance under your own company. And that past performance will go on your capability statement, and you'll use that capability statement to market to different agencies. So mentorship is important, which will lead you to like a prime sub relationship where you're partnering with other federal contracting businesses.
I don't think I could have got a better answer. That was awesome. Woo-woo. Shout out to that answer. Round of applause for that answer, y'all.
Yeah.
And the great part about it is UPC offers a mentorship program. That's something that's in the pipeline. So I talked to Taelor, and Taelor said, when it comes around, she'll be around. So, yeah. So this is an opportunity for you guys to tap in to Taelor. Also, I want you guys to understand a little bit of language, right? So, Taelor, can you tell us what a prime is in your business?
A prime is basically a company that the contract is awarded to. And you typically, on paper, are getting at least 50% of the contract value. 51%, because you're the prime majority owner of the contract.
Okay, so what is a sub?
A subcontractor is not necessarily on the award. It's not going to be an FPDS, but you are a company that the prime utilizes to perform some of the work share.
Okay, awesome. So that means that a sub is more so an apprentice to the master.
It can be.
Okay.
Or the master is like, I want to get into this sector of federal contracting. I've got a great vehicle like an 80 certification, but I don't necessarily do any of this work, but I want to get in this industry. And the subcontractor might have past performance in that industry, and the prime is like, hey, can we partner together? Can we talk to what you've done and present it as our past performance? And obviously the sub can be mentioned in the proposal submission. So it can go both ways, but typically it's the prime and the sub, getting their foot in the door.
Awesome, because we have a question here that says, how do I go about starting and where am I looking for opportunity, right? So kind of just gave it to you. If there's anybody in this room that is open to being a sub to Taelor's prime, please make sure that you talk to her today, as she will be able to help you analyze and actually be actionable about the steps. Does that make sense? So coming to this event, you didn't just learn about something, you actually gained a very powerful connection to the tune of $4 million in awarded contract value. I don't think that there's a better place for you to have started if this is something that you want to start. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So these, I read through all of these questions, phenomenal questions by the audience. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the host and I say nice things. These are phenomenal questions from the audience, and I really want to ask every single one of them. Taelor, how much time do we have you for? Time is valuable.
I'm here. If I can add value, I'm okay to do that. So you got me. I got to go to a concert later, but I'm here until then.
10 minutes. Got it. So,
I'm here.
So what concert though? Who you going to see?
Black Coffee.
Black Coffee.
South African music.
The vibes. Mm-hmm. I hope you got flats because you want to be dancing. All right. So where do you recommend starting when entering the world of government contracts? Like, where would you recommend starting based off of your past performance?
If you got your why, you got what NACS code or what product service you're doing, I would start finding people to partner with. I'll speak to what I did personally because I know it like the back of my hand. When I first started, like I said, I did printer maintenance, right? Printer maintenance is you're literally servicing copiers and printers. And again, I didn't know anything about it, but I knew it was low-hanging fruit, and I knew it could outsource the work. But I also used my dad's company as the prime.
Absolutely.
Just on the proposal side of it, right? Just on the right. And that helped me get in the door because he had done some multifunctional device work with a bunch of other agencies. But yeah. And then also something that helps when you're writing your proposals, and proposal writing is a whole nother part of this, right? Yeah. Because if you're saying you can do some work, you've got to be able to write to it. If you can find a proposal writer, great. They're expensive, and I understand it's difficult, but you can also use templates. Yeah. You have to write your technical proposal and your pricing proposal, and in those two documents, you'll have to price out how much the work is going to be, which is going to my point of like, you can go lowest price technically acceptable. I hate this method of choosing work for contractors, but if you have the lowest price, you most likely can get your foot in the door as long as you're not losing money. So that's another way to look at it too to get started. Or you can go the partnering route and sub with a prime contractor.
Okay, awesome. And you talked about price, and that's the reason why I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. I've read all the questions, so I'm just like, all right, well, with this terminology, because I feel like whoever wrote this question definitely Googled it. 100%. Definitely Googled it.
They did, yeah.
Definitely Googled it. It's too much technical knowledge and too much technical in this question. So what is the difference, since we were talking about price, what is the difference between a fixed firm price contract and how can that affect a business's cash flow and projection of future income?
Are we difference between what? So I can speak to what a firm fixed price contract. Okay. I like firm fixed price contracts. You'll see it as FFP. So that means if you've got, I don't know, we'll talk to mine. We just got a $4 million contract in September for over 5 years with the Department of Commerce. It's a firm fixed price contract with 7 employees on site. So if you're firm fixed, that means whether that employee shows up to work or not, you're billing on a firm fixed price. So if it's $1 million per year divided by 12, I don't know, I'm not mathing right now,
Me either.
Every month you're billing the government, not based on hours, but just on the value of the contract. Okay. Whereas you can have a time and materials contract where you're billing on time that your employees are on site for their hours there.
Oh, okay.
I prefer firm fixed price, but there's also time and materials, and there's cost plus. This is a better question for like my CFO who does all of our pricing, but when you have a firm fixed price, you can kind of project the cash flow of your business because it's easier to estimate how much you're going to make per month, and then easier to subtract your expenses, your overhead, your direct materials, all of your 401k benefits. So it's easier to work with the estimated cash flow with a firm fixed price. Okay. Time and materials is a little more complicated.
Yeah, because you're talking about project management terminology anyway.
Sorry,
right? Cost plus, and I'm a project manager. I 100% understand what you're talking about. Yeah. Because what you can do is you can see how much they're going to pay you, and then you can reverse engineer it and say, okay, well, this is how much I'm actually going to pay for this evolution or this event project, or whatever for this contract. Yeah. So that makes sense. So it allows you, firm fix allows you to work backwards or work with numbers to work yourself backwards.
Exactly. Yep. And then it helps you see like, okay, if I got to bring on an engineer, what's the max I can pay him as a W-2 versus a 1099 benefits, et cetera.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next question. Mm-hmm. So how do I ensure that I am eligible for all possible set-asides? Like what would be your
like women-owned hub zone?
Yeah, like how do you ensure that you're eligible for all possible set-asides?
The government will let you know. Okay. So if you're going after a women-owned certification, you'll get like a congratulations, you are certified as a women-owned small business. Okay. Or you're certified as a hub zone business. So once that process is done, you're certified for however long the letter is. Women-owned is like indefinite, I believe, but you might have to renew every couple of years.
And then is minority small business like another one of those that you can?
Yes, minority-owned small business. I feel like it's more common in a state like DC. I see a lot of DC CBE companies. Yeah. But minority-owned businesses are also very much a thing in federal contracting.
Cool. And then you can also reach out to your local Black Chamber of Commerce. They'll be able to help you with those steps moving forward. So some more meat and potatoes, right? So Switching gears, what challenges did you face before winning your first contract? Do you have any stories? Yeah, I see the eyes is.
I mean, it's burnout.
Yeah.
Like running your business is tough. It gets lonely. Sometimes as a woman, you get like unsure of yourself. Like honestly, it's tough. And so having to have the perseverance to keep trying and trying.
Yeah.
So when you submit a proposal, if you don't get the award and it happens, you typically want to ask for a debrief if they're allowing debriefs, which is when the contracting officer will give you a reason why you didn't get the award, right?
Yeah.
And you want to use these, it could be lowest price or it could be like some BS reason, who knows?
Yeah.
But you want to use whatever they tell you and implement and make changes so that the next time you go after an opportunity, whether it's in your technical proposal, make those changes, or even, in the company, you could be lacking something. So like I said, it's just difficult because it does take a while to get to this point. But it's possible, right? Anything is possible. When you make a plan, you believe in yourself, and you just wake up every day with like time management, and you really follow your plan. And it'll get tiring, but again, if you got a goal in your head, don't stop till you reach it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like a very basic answer, but it's tiring out here.
It was a good one because they say it's going to be great. It's going to be worth it, but they didn't say it was going to be easy, right? So at the end of the day, it's like you have to understand that if you are an entrepreneur and you are running your own business, like there's things like block timing that you need to institute, right? Get a lot of things done. Use timers. Have a checklist. Create a checklist, right? Follow your checklist. You have to, because if you're not W-2 income, you don't really have a leader. Like you are the leader, right? So there's a lot of things that you might not necessarily have to be a master of, but you can be better at to make sure that you're still successful moving forward. Next question, and this is something I want to know because I'm in real estate and I had to do this myself, finding general contractors, plumbers, whatever, everybody that has to rebuild a house. I want to know how it is on the government contract side. So how did you identify a team, and how do you how to understand partnerships and consultants agreements for like working groups?
In-house team or like outsourced work?
We can talk about both because it didn't really specifically say which one. So like how do you identify a team and how do you understand partnerships with consultants and agreements for working groups? I feel like this was off of Google too, but it was a really great question. Thank you so much.
So typically when I haven't built an in-house team, it's always going to be through referrals. So whoever, and this might be a cop-out, but whoever my dad had as his like accounts payable, CFO.
Facts.
I brought them under my company, paid them as employees, and brought them under my wing. If you don't have that, look at Indeed, look at Monster, look at LinkedIn, see who's available in the areas and resources you need, and go that route. But if you're looking to partner with someone on an actual contract, like research. Again, referrals. You do it in real estate. I'm not working with you if somebody hasn't told me that you're doing good. I'm not blindly working with you.
Facts.
And we did that on one of our task orders. We got a new task order in for the National Archives in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. And we're like redigging an entire like landscaping. And I was like, I need a landscaper. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. But I like went on Google, I researched a bunch of companies and had like 5 conversations with different contractors. Asked them if they can do the specific work in the SOW. And then I asked for referrals for the work that they do. If you are working with someone within your business or outside of your business, I recommend asking for referrals.
Yeah.
You just don't want to go in blindly.
Absolutely. You never just want to hire somebody off of Angie's list or something.
Because Angie said so.
But just because Angie said so. You don't want to do that. Last question, because I feel like the other questions that I was reading, kind of, you answered them already, right? Like you you're all encompassing. No, that was great. We appreciate when you elaborate. So absolute last question, then we can get you to the African
I'm here.
Fest.
I'm here. I love talking about this.
Awesome. Question from the audience, how do I get my business started with the expertise that I already have? For example, construction general contracting. So how do they get their business started with the expertise that they already have?
So
what say you?
You're already an expert, which is great.
Yeah.
You know a field, which is great. You can market yourself, which is great. So like I said, you have your capability statement, right?
Yeah.
You got that. Then you want to kind of go into your marketing. And before you get to marketing, you want to look at what makes you stand out. So look at your certifications. Look at your 8A certification, your HUB zone, your minority owned, service disabled, whatever you are. If you can get a certification, great, because an agency has to work with you based on their socioeconomic requirements. Once you get that out the way, start marketing yourself to federal agencies. So I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret.
Let's do it.
And my dad built his company very well using this method. They did $20 million a year for like 5 years in a row. He graduated from the 8A company. But something that we do and works for my company till this day is email marketing. Yeah. So if you're starting in landscaping, you got a company, you got your CAPE statement, look at, outside of industry days, outside of making relationships, look at email marketing. So my company, we send out like 15,000 emails a month to high-level execs in federal agencies. Every month might be a different federal agency. And if you're familiar with how contracting works, the government has to spend their money by the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Typically that's what, like August, September, like they got to get rid of their money, meaning they've got to spend it. So I market myself around like June, July, August, just even more to all these agencies. Now, do they all respond?
No.
Absolutely not. Do we stop at every no? Absolutely not. So for maybe every like 1,000, you might get one response. Like, oh, okay, this is great. Can you tell me more about your company? Can we set up a capability briefing, which is when you'll present your capabilities in person or with Zoom? Or if you're like myself, and this is how we got our last award in September, we had been marketing to the Department of Commerce, and they were like, oh, you do administrative work, can we hop on a call? We've got some work. We needed to move this contract from one 8A company to a new one.
Yeah.
They had graduated the 8A company. They had blown out their size standard. Mm-hmm. Your size standard is like how much your company can make based on the type of work you do. Like landscaping, you probably can only do, I don't know, what I do, you can only do like 20 million a year.
Okay, only?
But that could be like one contract, right? So then this company blew out of their size standard. So they were like, you're solidified. We're not giving you direct work anymore. Let's move it to a company that actually needs this work, aka me. And so they gave me a direct award from that email marketing for a $4 million contract starting in September for 7 people. But that was from email marketing. Now, like, my dad would kill me if I'm telling you this, but again, if you're here, it's because you want your company to succeed. And I'm telling you, it worked for me, but I'm also being realistic in that it took me 7 years to get to $4 million, right? It takes a while, but there are ways to do it if you do your research. You ask questions and you have a business plan, and it's definitely possible. But email marketing is how I've built these contracts, direct awards. Competing is different. Your margins are going to be different. It's going to be slimmer. I love direct awards because margins are greater, which means, more money. But
100%.
When you compete, but you can't live, you live by like the 3, you die by the 3. You can't just only do direct award work. You have to learn how to compete as well. Yeah. It's just the nature of the game. So we do a lot of our high paying contracts are from the 8A certification, and they've come from email marketing. That's the end of my secret, so.
That is awesome.
You're welcome.
That is awesome. Shout out. Can we get a round of applause for secrets? Oh, my God. No, well, the thing about it is, and I love the fact that you're here dropping gems. Gems are just falling all around you because we don't compete, we collaborate, right? Yeah. So the mere fact that you just gave us something that we can take home, right, we greatly appreciate you for that. So thank you so much. One more time, Taelor Salmon.
You're welcome.
All right. So,
God is good.
So that was all the questions that we have on the paper, questions that we formulated. Thank you guys so much for coming out. We appreciate your time. As we said, time is something that, you can't get back. So we thank you so much for spending your time with us. I'm just going to turn it over to Justin. I'm Les. You can follow me, financial.guru.ham on Instagram, financial.guru.ham on Instagram. Hopefully you already know UPC_DMV. And also make sure that you make the investment and become a member. By you making the investment and becoming a member in UPC, you allow us to keep doing events like this that bring you more and more and more legitimate educational content for the price of $9.99, and most of the time it's free. So I'm just going to turn it over to Justin. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Mm-hmm.